lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven had found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. Best friend to 23. I heard the heavens crying above me. They gained an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me for. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend. Lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven, it found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. My best friend to 23. I heard the heavens crying above me. The gain's an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me for. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend.
Space experts with every young mind, and it is on track to cover all the states as early as possible with future aim to build a space school in India. With this, again, I would like to extend my gratitude to Sonal Jaj ma'am for providing me such a huge platform. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Well, I'm Mo Chaudhary. I have an experience of 8 years in education field. At present, I'm working with Podar International School. I'm still an amateur teacher, learning a lot of things, and I also aspire to be a writer. That is my main aim and goal of life. So with this, ma'am, with your due permission, can I commence the session? Thank you, ma'am.
Please proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. Just give me 2 minutes to share my screen. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So NEP 2020, today we all have gathered here to learn and to know more about the multilingualism and the power of language. As you all can see here, I have put a picture of different languages of India. India is a diverse country with numerous language. It is rich in its heritage and culture. We are known for our rich tradition. We are known for our different languages. We are known for unity in diversity. Even if we have different languages, different religion, different food, all these things make us one. All these things give us the sense of oneness among ourselves. So NEP 2020, this also gives more emphasis to language. So let's see what is this multilingualism and the power of language. What NEP has to say about it. So before going to the main area of NEP 2020, the multilingualism and the power of language, let us understand the concept of multilingualism. So what is multilingualism? Multilingualism is the way of expressing or using in more than one language, either by an individual speaker or by a community of speakers. So as we all know that as India is a country where we have n number of languages, nearly 1600 languages are spoken in India. And we also, if you take an example of any person, that person must be well versed in more than one language. It happens because we are exposed to different kinds of vicinity. We are exposed to different kind of people having different background. So that is how we learn language and we became multilingual. So multilingualism is not just limited to a specific field. It touches every aspect of human life. Its scope is unlimited, which can be analyzed by the following points. So the first point is education is imparted through multilingualism. So whenever we as teachers, when we impart any concept to our children, NEP says that we must understand the depth of any language. We must understand the usage of that language in order to make our small children know the concept in a more clear way. We all are multilinguals. As I just said that we all know more than one languages, every one of us. Because for example, if I give my example to you all, I belong to Bengal. I am born there, brought up in Gujarat, and I got married to a South Indian. So I know 4 different languages or 5 different languages. So this is how I have learned, because I have been exposed to many different regions of India, different parts of India. And when I was there at my home, or when I'm there at my home, I speak in Bangla. When I'm going out of my home, I speak in Hindi with my society people. When I go to school, there I have to speak in English with my kids. When I go to any local vendor and when I when I uh, go from one place to another by public transport, there I talk in Gujarati. So eventually I use n number of languages being in one state. So we all are multilinguals in a way. And the third point is our constitution also provides us more than two language use for administration. So in our constitution also, even they are not stick to only one language. We have been given that platform wherein we can, if a person cannot understand English, he or she may be given the platform to talk or to read or to understand in Hindi. So even our constitution also uh, assists us in this way, or assisting us in this way. Next slide is about what NEP has to say about multilingualism. So what is this multilingualism? How NEP is going to implement this in our field of education? So the NEP 2020 is not restricted to education in English language. Now, as we all know that in private schools, we focus more on English rather than any other language. Our medium of instruction is given or is provided in English language only. And even if we talk about parents, most of the parents, I'll not say all the parents, but most of the parents, they feel that our children, if we are sending our children to English medium school, that means our children should be well versed in English language. They don't focus on the concept, they don't focus on the conceptual based learning, whether my child has got the concept or not, that doesn't matter. The matter is whether my child is able to speak in English or not. So NEP is saying that it will not restrict it to education in English language. It is not that only English language will be given more weightage to any education organization. It openly supports to impart knowledge in mother tongue, regional or local language. So it supports the mother tongue, regional or local language. That means a child up to 8th standard or up to 5th standard, a child will be given an area, a comfort zone, wherein he or she can express himself or herself more in the language which he is comfortable with. Now, if I talk about my school, or if I talk about my area, so here also children, whenever we ask them to speak anything about any topic, the first thing they'll think is, how am I able to speak in English? They may have the concept of uh, thinking on, they may have the thinking level, they may have n number of things in their mind, but they don't know how to express that in language or in English language. So there they always lag behind. So we feel that, okay, this child is unable to speak, maybe he or she does not have language, but that is not the problem. If a child does not have a language, we must give him that space wherein they can at least express themselves in some other language, if not in English. But unfortunately, we are focusing and we are emphasizing more on English language only. So this becomes a hurdle for young minds, young children, that, okay, now madam will be asking me in English, how am I supposed to say that? I don't want to make fun of myself in front of 30 students. So that's what they feel. And eventually they don't talk, they don't express themselves. In addition to this, one of the oldest and ancient languages, that is Sanskrit, is to be promoted well. Now, I think I feel that, I don't know how, up to what extent I'm right, but somewhere down the line, I feel that Sanskrit being one of the oldest and the ancient languages, we don't know, being in India or being an Indian, we don't know the meaning of Sanskrit verses even. We call Pandit to our home. We want him to offer uh, or worship our goddess or god in Sanskrit language. They chant mantras. But do we really know the meaning of those mantras? Do we really know the meaning of those shlokas? We don't. Unfortunately, we don't. Because we have not been given that exposure, or even interest has not been inculcated within us to learn Sanskrit language. So NEP is also trying to bring out the essence of Sanskrit back in our education field, where Sanskrit should also be given equal weightage as other languages of India. No specific language will be imposed. According to NEP, not a single language will be imposed to any child. A child will be given the freedom to speak and share his or her own views in any language, whichever is feasible for that child. All efforts will be made in preparing high quality bilingual textbooks and teaching learning materials specifically for science and maths. So when we are talking about imparting knowledge in 3 different languages or 4 different languages or multilingual, so the question comes that how we are going to frame textbook, how we are going to make textbooks. Now, textbooks can be made in 2 different languages only. So NEP is also trying for that, and specifically in science and maths, wherein NEP is saying that it will be taking the terms of English as well, because these 2 are technical subjects. So for that, English language will be pitched in order to have the bridge of English and the mother tongue or any other language for the students. It will be easier for the students even to associate some of the words, technical words. All efforts will be made early on to ensure that any gaps that extend between the language spoken by the child and medium of teaching are bridged. So it will be also taken care by NEP. Next is, how does a child learn any language? Now, it is a concept of many people that English is a tough language, or any language is a tough language. If somebody is speaking in English, he or she is given more preference, he or she is given more value than any other person who is speaking in or who is comfortable in mother tongue or regional language. I think the knowledge of a person should not be measured by any language. Knowledge, these are the 2 main areas from where a child acquires knowledge. And it is seen and it is evident that the children of the ages of between 2 and 8, those children are very quick in acquiring knowledge than the children, those who are in their later stage of life, like 19 or 20 or 22. They are very quick in grasping knowledge. Slobin also champions bilingualism and learning languages while the child is young. Despite a common, it is very common that people think that it is very difficult for a child to acquire knowledge. But according to them, according to the linguists, they say that if a child has been given no option, if a child is going to abroad, for example, and here in India, the child has not been given any exposure to English language, but if a child has gone there, so he may not have any other option rather than speaking in English only, whether it is broken or whether it is whatever the child is in broken phrases or whatever it is, the child has to speak. So I guess the environment and the atmosphere also play a vital role in acquiring and learning a language, a new language. Now, what happens when we impart in one's own mother tongue? So when we will be as educators, as teachers, when we will be imparting our knowledge in mother tongue, so what are the things that will be uh, appreciated or that will be taken into consideration while you impart knowledge? That is, first one is based on the survey and researchers. It has been concluded that education should be imparted in mother tongue, regional language, at least up to grade 8. That is middle stage of education. So it is seen, and according to the researchers and survey, it is found that if a child is given an exposure of his or her own language, mother tongue or regional language, a child will be more clear with the concept. The conceptual understanding will be more clear than the language which he or she is not comfortable with. In a class, if we ask a child to present herself or himself, so there also a child will not get panicked. Other than that, the child will be more confident. So in this way, we can also inculcate the confidence within the child or confidence among the children, so that we can have a better future for India in the Department of Education. The child will, obviously, they will comprehend better when a language which they want to learn in will be imparted by the teacher. The participation for any activity will be more in number, because children will take part in any activity, classroom activities, and student will be able to answer with clarity and understanding. Sometimes it happens that whenever we ask a child whether you have got the concept or not, he or she or the children always nod their head, yes madam, we have got the concept. But after a day or two, if we ask the same concept, if we ask the same question based on that concept, the child may not be able to elucidate the same. And the answer which we get is, madam, I know it, but I don't know how to express that in English. So this is the problem which many children are facing. I'm not talking about those children, those who are affluent speakers, those who are exposed, those who are given or will be given or are given the exposure of English language at home too. But I'm talking about those children where who are not that well versed in the language, and secondly, where English at their home, English is not that prevalent. So we need to think about them as well. Now, NEP has also implemented, it will be implementing 3-language formula. Now, what is this 3-language formula? 3-language formula will continue to be implemented while keeping in mind the constitutional provisions, aspirations of the people, regions, and the union, and the need to promote multilingualism as well as to promote national unity. Now, as we all know that we are living in a country where n number of languages are spoken by people. Here, we also have to inculcate a sense of oneness through language. People feel that, okay, my language is good, my language is sweet, their language is very difficult. It is very difficult for me to understand his language or her language. But we must know at least a part of one another's language, and that will make us more unite. There will be, however, there will be a greater flexibility in the 3-language formula, and no language will be imposed on any state. So in any state, a particular language will not be imposed, because, as I said earlier also, that a child, we need to see NEP is just seeing that only, NEP is taking into consideration that only, whether the child or the children is able to focus or is able to understand in the language through which the knowledge is imparting or not. So it is recommendable that the recommended that the child should be given or should be imparted knowledge in one language only, which is comfortable them. So the three languages learned by children will be the choice of themselves. But at least two of the three languages are native to India. So if a child is learning three language formula, if a child is learning, so it is depend on the region, it is depend on the state, and it is depend on the students themselves also, that in which language they want to attain knowledge. So for that also NEP is working on. Next is how bilingual textbooks will be made. So all efforts will be made in preparing high quality bilingual textbooks and teaching learning materials for science and mathematics, so that students are enabled to think and speak about two subjects both in their mother tongue and in English. The technical words for these subjects will be given and taught in English too, because they are used globally. So if I talk about NEP is saying that we will not be focusing on a particular language. But again, the question comes that for acquiring higher degree, if a child goes to abroad and if he or she wants to pursue her or his higher degree in abroad, so how a child will be understanding or how a child will be speaking in that language? So for that, NEP has also come up with the solution that specifically science and mathematics, these two books will be in bilingual, so that the child can associate the words, technical words, with each other, as their English subject will be included, so that they can correlate it with each other. Now, NEP is also going to implement project on languages of India. Every student in the country will participate in a fun project activity on the languages of India in grade 6 to 8 under the initiative of Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat. Now here, student will be given a platform wherein they can enhance their language, as well as they will be able to know different kinds of languages of our nation. In this project, they will acquire more and more knowledge about the languages and literature as well. They will also learn what geographically areas speak which language, get a sense of the nature and structure of tribal languages, and learn to say commonly spoken phrases and sentences in every major language of India. So they will also learn about different kinds of languages. They will also learn about the geographical area, in which area, which language is prevalent, which language is used. That also they will be learning. This project will not be assessed, rather it will only be providing a platform to the students to be familiar with more languages and literature. So here, students will not be assessed or will not be awarded with any marks. This project will solely give them the exposure to different kinds of language. This project will only give them a fun-based activity, wherein they will be learning without any kind of imposition of marks. It will not be marks-oriented or exam-oriented. Now, classical language, that is Sanskrit. Just few minutes back, I have talked about it, that Sanskrit is one of the most ancient languages of India. Hence, this language should not be overlooked. Sanskrit, while also an important modern language mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India, possesses a classical literature that is greater in volume than that of Greek and Latin. It contains vast treasures of mathematics, philosophy, grammar, music, politics, medicine, architecture, drama, poetry, storytelling, and many more. Sanskrit will therefore be offered at all levels of school and higher education as an important and enriching option for students, including as an option in 3-language formula. Textbooks will also be introduced as in simple standard Sanskrit to teach Sanskrit through joyful method. I think Sanskrit should be taught right from grade 1. When we come to grade 8 or grade 6 standard, we have been given this option for taking Sanskrit or Hindi. So students prefer to go more in Hindi because they are comfortable with the language, as Sanskrit is a new language for them. So they always get panicked that, okay, if I'll take Sanskrit, it will be difficult for me to understand. At least in Hindi, I may write 2 or 3 sentences. So I think Sanskrit should be included in our education system, in our curriculum from grade 1 onwards. Now, in addition to Sanskrit, we have other classical languages as well, such as Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Odia, Pali, Persian, and Prakrit, which will also be available in schools as options for students to ensure that these languages and literatures stay alive. So all these languages, classical languages, will come back and will be included in our school curriculum, so that the essence of this language or the richness of this language must not be faded with the passage of time. So we have to ensure that these languages should be given them as options so that they can learn it. Now comes here challenges for students. NEP is in a way correct in almost in every aspect, but as educators, we need to think about our students as well. So students will have to face increased burden of subjects because of 3-language formula. Now, if I have a heterogeneous class and wherein I have to teach a concept in 3 different languages, that will be a burden for students as well. That will be a burden for teacher as well, because it will be time consuming. A concept which can be taught in one single language, after this implementation, a teacher has to teach that particular thing in 3 different languages. For that, a teacher should also know those 3 languages. So it is a challenge for a teacher as well to know the language. In some areas, students will be forced to learn in different languages where one language suffices. Language of question paper. Now, if we impart them knowledge in 3 different languages, now the question comes, what will be the pattern and what will be the language of a question paper? Are we going to frame or set question papers in those 3 different languages or not? That is again a question mark. That will be a question mark for students as well. The rapport between the teacher and the students while delivering the knowledge in multiple language. Now, for example, I may impart knowledge or I may clarify the concept in English language well. I may not be able to clarify the same concept in Gujarati. Even if I'm there, I'm dwelling in Gujarat, I'm not that well versed in Gujarati. So will the child accept me? Will those group of children or those children will accept that madam is making those children understand that, okay, in English, those who are well versed in that language, but madam is failing to make us understand. The students may feel that the teacher is not that well versed in Gujarati. So for them, what can be done? Now, settle in abroad. There are numerous students, those who want to, after 12th standard, there is only one dream, that is, madam, I want to go to abroad, I want to settle down there only. So because of that, many parents, they just tell us that, madam, you just teach our child how to speak in English. That is the only thing we want. So you just impart this much to our children. So again, the challenges for the students, those who aspire to go to abroad and settle there, again the question comes that will they be able to will they be able to acquire knowledge full-fledgedly in English, or again there will be a problem? So that remains a question for the students. Now comes here challenges for teachers. Now, as I said, it will be time consuming for teachers to impart the same concept, to carry out the same thing in different languages. Teacher will be forced to learn many languages in order to make our children understand. Now, set question papers. Now, how to set a question paper? Will that be in three different language, or for writing a paper or for appearing for the examination, a child has to focus on only one language? Ready to take up new language challenges. So teacher being teachers, also we need to think that maybe after 2 years or 3 years, we will also have to learn many languages of India and cope with regional language. Are we able to, or we will be able to cope with the regional language, or do we have to first of all learn and then we have to teach them? So these are the few challenges which teachers and students will be facing. But tough journey we have, but we will definitely have a great destination, beautiful destination. We educators, we will be working collaboratively in this, and we will make our education department the great department of India, one of the great department of the world as well. Why not? Why only in India, but in the worldwide? So with that hope, I thank you everyone for patiently listening to me. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much. Now I would like to
just 1 minute more.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was really very precise and crisp, and you have actually incorporated what is exactly needed. That is what I'm saying. We need to totally focus on the core aspects, and you have already done that with the teacher challenges, with the multilingualism of the teachers also learning the same languages, because it is not easy for the teachers to learn the same languages. So yes, challenges will be there for all of us. We have to defeat them. Amazing and wonderful interpretation, wonderful presentation, and very apt and precise, up to mark. Congratulations, wonderful.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You can proceed further, yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Now I would like to call Dr. Sharda Chakraborty. I just want to give a brief introduction of Madam Sharda. She's a certified career counselor, soft skill trainer, and POSH Act 2013 skill trainer, AIEF master trainer, RKDX speaker, educator, author, and motivational speaker. She is also a director and founder of Golden Future Counseling and Consultancy. I welcome you, ma'am, from the core of my heart. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. And before I start my presentation, I want to thank Sonal ma'am for arranging, organizing, everything like she's doing on ground very well. Thank you so much, ma'am. Second, I want to thank IDYM and the team. It's a teamwork which has really come out so very nicely, and we are here. Thank you so much with this, and good evening to all of you, all the eminent speaker, the principals, educators all around the world. Thank you for joining, and very good evening to all of you. Yes, it is very, just now we saw the beautiful presentation of Mo Chaudhary ma'am, and it was really insightful. I have learned so many things. And thank you for adding values in our life. And today's session, when I leave the session, I have already learned so many things. Thank you so very much for this wonderful presentation. I'll start mine. I hope the screen is clear to all of you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. As discussed, as we all know, India is a multilingual country. And with diverse cultural heritage, but language is a vehicle of gathering knowledge and means of communications with the people so that we can tell them, share them about us and also know about them, isn't it? This is all about the language. And how well she said, like, she is Bengali, but she knows Gujarati, she has married a South Indian person, and she is also knows so many languages apart from Hindi and English. Same goes with me. Being an army officer's daughter, I had this privilege of moving to different parts of the country. But before I could really pick up very fluently, we used to, after 2.5 years, to different state and then picking up there so many languages. And I am a North Indian, married to a Bengali person. And do you know, I can speak Bengali and I can read it, but I can't write. That's the only challenge I have. I can't write. But yes, but through this, I'm able to communicate with everybody around me. And as we all know, more languages you know, more are your neural connections, and more intelligence. Because neurons, they are firing and the wiring takes place. And we become more and more intelligent. That's what it said. Okay, now, as we know, the National Education Policy 2020 has emphasized on the use of mother tongue or local language as a medium of instructions till class 8. But Ma'am told till class 8, it should be continued, and so that they understand and retain more. I still remember my daughter, when she was admitted in a kindergarten school, she said, Mama, I don't want to go to school. I don't understand what they are teaching. It's such a foreign language for her. And with this, she was losing the interest to go to the school. Because at home, we were speaking to her in Hindi or Bengali, but there she was exposed to English. English was an alien language for her. So she was not able to pick up, not able to understand, and she struggled for about 1 month. And after that, she learned. And of course, today she can speak English, but at that particular age, her self-esteem was very, very low. And she didn't have that confidence. She did not understand a single word what her teachers were saying. And when we go and tell teachers, the teachers, they say, speak to them in English. But is it possible to express our love and feeling with that same impact, which we can do in Hindi or English, or Hindi or my mother tongue or my husband's mother tongue? Can we express ourselves so well? But still, we tried. And slowly, she picked up. So now what is happening? The children learn few words listening. Yes, first we listen and then we learn a particular language. And then we start writing and reading and writing. First we hear, then we speak, and then we learn, read, and then we start writing simultaneously. So now when the child is exposed with this mother tongue to different in a school where he is not able to understand, so is it really the meaning of language? Is the child learning something? No. 1 month or maybe some children more. There are many, many children who are the first generation learner. In their home, there's no one to teach. And thanks to Right to Education, they are being admitted to English medium schools now. For them, the parents, is it possible for them? So now what is happening? The confidence and the so many cognitive capabilities, it's giving a negative impact. So now when we talk about at the foundational stage, it's very important the child should understand literacy and numeracy. Today, when I was yesterday or day before yesterday, I was talking on FLN. When the children, they don't understand the words, they cannot make up sentence, then how this is going to help them in understanding maths problem? It's so difficult because they are not able to understand. So I think that we should make it a point, and of course, national education policy has done it, that the children means this language, English, these are the language of commerce, official communication, internet, social media, and so many things. But when when the child is exposed at a very young age, he feels very helpless, very, very difficult. Yes, in the coming years, he can understand, but in the junior classes, in the primitive time when he's learning, he should understand the concept. He should know why is he or she is going to school, isn't it? That is the meaning of education. But what was happening? The child was not able. Yes, Ma'am has made many different, very, very valid points. Like if the child, of course, the child will be pressurized with more and more languages, and the regional language for the people who are being transferred regularly, like me. So for them, it will be so very difficult going to different state and learning a different language. So now, when we talk about the NEP 2020, it has is to mesh in the new learning outcome with the changing world. See, we are so very focused on completing the syllabus that we don't know that what is the learning outcome. Is there any learning outcome? We are completing, the children are mugging up, and they are just vomiting during the exam. So India, as ma'am also mentioned, it's a home to 120 languages, and there are so many languages which we even don't know, which are going into local, in a very, very small areas. They're speaking these languages. And 22 languages are spoken by over 1 million people. But there are many hundred languages which are spoken by more than 10,000 people. And as according to the report of 2001 census, that it has been recorded that over 1,500 more languages used in India, but today India has lost 220 languages or dialects in last 50 years. And UNESCO has declared 197 languages as endangered because nobody was interested in giving more focus to the language, the local language, the regional language. And the parents were always asked, speak in English. And therefore, you must have seen in your area so many English spoken courses. And if you search internet, you will see the English speaking courses or English languages book on that. You must have seen there are many books I saw. I remember my husband, who has his educations throughout in Bengali medium. So when I came after marriage, I saw a book where it was written, learn English in this many days. It was not only his case, it was the case of many people, because in India, we were more focusing on the language. Of course, it's a language, international language, which is to be used, but not in the pre-primary. What do you say? It's more about the learning the concepts. So now, when we talk about the 1953 report entitled The Use of Vernacular Languages in Education, it's by Idym. The two aspects stood out. First, that every child of school age should attend school, and the best medium of teaching is the mother tongue of the pupil. We have seen in many European countries, they use their own languages, and there the child is taking knowledge in their own mother tongue. And there an emphasis should be given on all languages, even so-called primitive ones, means which are not spoken by many people. they are also capable of becoming media for school teaching. Some perhaps as a bridge to a second language. Just now, she told like English can be used as a bridge. Of course, there can be the regional language also can be like to make the unfamiliar words familiar. These languages, regional languages can be used. So in this way, it was a report given by the UN, which has given these two aspects. It was long before the 2020, NEP 2020 implementations. So there is, oh my God. Okay. So now this 3-language formula, which has been given by the government, it was there is a flexibility as told. Today also we see that in our school, the child is learning English, Hindi, and along with that, Sanskrit or the local language. For example, I'm talking about Kolkata, West Bengal, Bengali. The third language they are studying. At least they are doing it till class 8. But it's on the other hand, they are also not imposing on any state like a language, like you have to choose it, and in this way. So there is a liberty. Many points has been covered up by ma'am. So I'll just go on. So it states that wherever possible, the medium of instructions will be at till class 8 and beyond will be in the home language, mother tongue, local language, or regional language. And they should be, as no language is compulsory, students can skip learning English, which might, but this is again a problem if they skip English, because now they are saying the child is in the center. He can or she can choose. So it can be a big problem as we know the China faced, because they did not use this English, and this made them a little back foot, but now they are doing it, of course. So now when we talk about the 3-language formula, so we have already know there are many things which has been already covered, that wherever the medium of instruction, it should be in the mother tongue, regional language, so that the child retains, because in this language, the child is comfortable at home and in the school. Now there is no vast difference at home or in school. Whatever the languages he or she is speaking with his mother or father and the family, the same language is being spoken there. Of course, the English words are used because the technical words, they become very difficult. If you talk about the train in Hindi, it is said Lohopatgamini. So a child will be very, very surprised, and it will be such a big name, Lohopatgamini. Whereas the train, we are using these English words in our daily language. So these words can be used, and it can be implemented, will continue to be implemented to produce multilingualism. And I think multilingualism is very good. I told you it's very good for your neurons, because if your neurons, they keep on learning, so you will, because it's also said for us also, if you keep on learning, what will happen? The neurons, they will form new connections. And today also, I keep on learning. Now I'm learning a new thing, that is graphology. How can I analyze my signatures and my family and my friends' signatures, and also help students to come out with the good signatures, and the signatures has a significant value. So I'm learning something new every month. This is my target. And then there will be a greater flexibility, and no language will be imposed on any state. And to learn 3 language will be the choice we have already discussed. And in this way, there will be a full flexibility. Nothing will be imposed on anyone, no state, and even the child will be free to take. So there are a few frequently asked questions about the policy. When was 3-language formula implemented across the country? It was in 1968, because the children, they are doing it now also. Apart from Tamil Nadu, that adopted a two-language policy. Apart from this, all the states, they are following the three-language, but in some schools, there are four languages also. They are teaching, for example, there are many schools in Kolkata where they are teaching English, Hindi, Bengali, and Sanskrit. Four languages the child is studying in many schools in Kolkata, and I'm sure in different parts of the country. So only Tamil Nadu has adopted two-language policy. Then what is the objective behind three-language formula? The main is that the three-language formula sought to serve three functions. One, accommodating group identity, affirming national unity, and increasing administrative efficiency. So this is the main objective behind the language formula. What are the three languages in the three-language formula? So it was first incorporated in the National Education Policy in 1968 by the Indira Gandhi government in Hindi-speaking states, English, Hindi, and a modern Indian language. And in non-Hindi speaking states, English, Hindi, and one Indian language. So it was there since 1968, the first National Education Policy. Next. Now, I'll come to the end. The National Education Policy 2020 advocated that wherever possible, the medium of instructions until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond will be the home language, mother tongue, local language, regional language for both private and public schools. So now all the governments and non-government schools, they have to follow this policy so that the learning process becomes much easier and the child learns whatever in the languages which is being spoken in his home. And this is the main aim of our education, that child understand. The child is in the center in National Education Policy 2020. With this, I come to the end of my presentation.
Amazing, ma'am. Amazing. Extremely amazing. I mean, this is what we educators learn and pick up, that actually what is not there in the NEP and how we can incorporate it. The way I think Mo has explained, you have also explained that we need to have multilingualism. We educators have to learn no matter what. There will be difficulties. And as you have said, that multilingualism, the child picks up very fast, because if you're not on par with the Hindi, still you have to come back to the level of the child. Explain the child in that way if you are well versed in that language. So 3 languages per state, per nation, depending on the language of the native area and all, it all makes a lot of difference. I mean, in the government schools also, there are so many people who don't know English and they appoint English teachers. So the teachers have to be on par with the Maharashtrian, the Gujarati and the local languages of India, which the children may not be well versed with. So it definitely helps learning much better. Amazing, ma'am. You can proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonal ma'am. You are always a source of inspiration for all of us. And really, I'm so delighted to be part of this NAP. Thank you so much, ma'am. So now I call upon the next speaker, and she is Professor Sharda Chakraborty, ma'am. So she's a committed senior lecturer with over 26 years of experience at leading academic institutions, teaching students from various social and cultural backgrounds. Possesses excellent administrative, verbal communication, and written skills, along with constructive and effective teaching methods that promote a stimulating learning environment. An author, international speaker, counselor, social activist, and founder of CVMD and CWMA organizations which work for emotional empowerment. Appointed Deputy Chief Moderator for Maharashtra State Board in the year 2022. Has also co-authored textbooks for Maharashtra State Board as per the NEP. She is the recipient of several national and international awards for the contribution in the education field. Thank you, ma'am. And There
I
are
would like
many
to,
awards she has
I
won,
think,
because if I
I think, yeah,
keep
I
on
would,
telling, it will be, I think, 10 to 15 minutes I'll take more.
I
So
would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Rachna ma'am for being a part of this wonderful NEP series. So deep gratitude from me and my team members and my family. Thank you so much for being a part.
stage is yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good evening to everyone. Whoever has joined in, all the eminent speakers. And it was really great listening to both of my speakers who spoke before me. I was just gathering knowledge, tips and bits. And special thanks to Sonal Jaji who has organized this. And of course, IDYM is a platform full of learning and a lot of takeaways. Every day we are learning. But the initiative taken by Sonal Jaji ma'am, I really want to salute her for coming up with this concept of NEP, which we really need to discuss right now. Ponder and think before we take a step ahead, because that is what is going to dominate over the students, their well being, as well as their educational development. So, if we do not think right now, and if we do not listen to all the inputs given by educators like all of you across, so we will not be able to give that correct input which we are working on. So we need to listen to the pros as well as the cons, which can affect. And main intention for all of us as educators is at the end that to give a better educational development for our students. So with that, I start today my topic, which is, of course, very, very important and very close to my heart, that is multilingualism and the power of language in everyone's knowledge. So, we know, according to every research, multilingualism can improve the communication, intercultural sensitivity, cognitive abilities, and more. So, this is very, very important. But research has also shown that speaking a multiple languages betters the leadership and management skills also. So that is one reason why we have decided that it should be included. The multilingual people have enhanced the awareness of the other points of view, and any other reason which is very, very important right now. We should be always focused and open to learn new languages. If we cannot do that, then it will be a great problem. We know that it is little difficult in the beginning or in the initial stage, but let me tell you, when we start anything new or something which is a change, it will take time. It will take time to invest in us, as well as to the giver, as well as to the receiver. But if we just discard it without giving proper reasons, as Mo ma'am had also told, the difficulties which might come in while framing the question papers or talking about the other consequence that we are still discussing in the board members in Maharashtra State Board, we discussed that. These things are coming up. We need to solve it, but we cannot eliminate when we see a small child feeling comfortable talking in their own mother tongue. We cannot put pressure. Of course, I know many teachers will also agree that if we not inculcate or force them with the other foreign language, especially English medium, then why not English only to be taught from the initial stages? Because that was taught to me, because I, being from a missionary background, so I was inculcated. I still remember my sisters in the school giving me, the hitting on my knuckles. And because I spoke in Bengali, I was in junior KG at that time. They always insist the preciseness that you try, whether it's broken or not, you need to speak in English. So that is also one factor which we are considering. Suddenly, a child after 8th standard is forced will be there with learning English. Then how will that child be able to cope up or do justice with a foreign language? Then should he or she continue in the bilingual or the mother tongue language, continue with it, or should he or she transform or transfer into English language? Will it be possible for that small little brain to take up a new language, a foreign language? all at once, writing papers, speaking it out, suddenly at 8th standard. Then we have seen right now in English, I'm talking particularly for all the English medium, not about all the other linguistic medium. We know that where English is the third language in the other schools, for them it's okay because we will not instill all those. We will, of course, go with the first language, which is there, probably Marathi, Bengali, Gujarati, whatever is there. We will install that. Now, the question comes, which we are facing right now, is that about the English medium. So, do we need to really make that change, or completely transform, or give them the option that you can speak in any other languages? I feel that the option to speak should be allowed rather than hitting, but the medium of explanation should be in English, of course, but without forcing them. We should see the comfort level of the child. Probably we can slowly, slowly instill in them instead of forcing them to study the language which they are not able to understand. And as a result, the fear is instilled in the child's mind that I will not go to school, as Dr. Sharda has told about a small child. Because this is happening, because many children are frightened that if I go to school and I'm not able to speak in English, my teacher might make me stand out of the class, and as a result, I might not like the ambience, students laughing at me and making fun of me because I'm not speaking in English. So instead of forcing on them, we are trying that we will take out some changes in that policy, and we will put some add-ons for the English medium, that only the children who are comfortable in understanding should be implemented with the English language. Rather than that, other students should be allowed to understand or listen to the explanation in their mother tongue, in whichever language they are comfortable. So that is the first thing which we are aiming at right now. So a small this thing about the NEP policy, which of course has been said very nicely by our eminent speakers before me. So I'll just make it very short, and I just don't want to repeat the same thing, because it's normally the same thing when we are speaking about. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. So we are talking about the multilingualism and the power of language. So as for the young children, we know, as I was speaking, they have the learning and the grasp non-trivial concepts more quickly in their home language or mother tongue. Wherever possible, the medium of instruction, it is told as per the NEP 2020, it should be at least till grade 5, but preferably, if possible, we can continue it till grade 8, of course, as told by my previous speakers also. And beyond will be home language, mother language, both the local language. So in such cases where home language textbook material is not available, it's difficult for the teachers to make, the different languages textbook. We need to even consult the teachers of other languages. Grammatical errors might come in when we are making that same converting that same content in the mother tongue. So there are a lot of issues which are coming in. So the textbook material is not available, and the language of transaction between the teachers and the students will still remain the home language wherever possible. So teachers will be encouraged to use bilingual approach. So here comes in, where it is not possible to provide the textbooks in the English medium, especially where English is the first language. When it is the first language is their mother tongue, then there is no problem about it, because obviously the textbooks are made. Now, to give that in that English medium, transforming the English language into other languages, vernacular languages, it becomes difficult. So teachers will be encouraged to use at that stage the bilingual approach, including bilingual teaching learning materials with those students whose home language may be different from the medium of instruction. So only the medium of instruction can be changed. The books or the writing materials can remain as English if they are approachable to it, if the students are accepting it as it is been given to them. We cannot force anything. NEP wants that nothing should be forced. It should come naturally. There are some laws and rules which are framed, but that doesn't mean we will be completely imbibing with it, because as it is, the board comes after 8th, 9th, and 10th. So in between, it is the school's domain where the school has to look. But yes, of course, no forcing, as it was said, decided in 2020 NEP, that the changes has to be brought around only in context with the young brains or the young mind. So the children, we know that they pick up the languages extremely quickly at this age, the ages of 2 and 8. So multilingualism has a great cognitive benefit to the young students. These are there in the NEP actually. If you can search it, you'll get it. Children will be exposed to the languages early on, beginning with the mother tongue, skills to be developed for reading, writing in the other two languages, grade 3 and beyond. Three language formula, of course, this is very important, will continue to be implemented, which we already have in many schools. Three language formula. For students who have local language as medium of instruction will study maths and science bilingually in grade 6. That is important. We have the bilingual question papers also coming up, wherein in the language it will be given as well as in the bilingual language in which they are studying. Medium, semi-English we call it. So that semi-English paper will be given for maths and science. Because here we expect the child to envisage the knowledge more and gather and more knowledge from global mediums also. Because this will enhance and make a child globally fit for the community. In this regard, all effort will be made by preparing high quality bilingual textbook and teaching learning materials, which is very important. The LOs, the learning objectives, will be done by the FLN, which already Sharda ma'am has talked about. We are working on that in the FLN mode, how we will bring around the change. And also very important, which has been forgotten, to look into the objectives, the learning objectives, and then frame the curriculum. The curriculum should give a holistic approach for a child and as a result, nurture the child's brain and not impose something because we are teachers. Then coming to Sanskrit, which is the origination of all the other languages in India, the traditional belief that because of Sanskrit, we have all the other languages, will be offered at all levels of school and higher education as an important enriching option for students. So the provisions will be made to teach in a very, very interesting style, which is very, very important also. So teaching of all other classical languages and literature of India, including Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Odia, Pali, Persian, Prakrit will also be widely available. So this is also in the process. We are trying to make the books and the curriculum. Translators are there, but then we cannot rely on the Google translators to translate the book or convert it. So we need teachers, we need educators who really are, great, knowledgeable or resourceful person in all these languages. So available in the schools as options, possibly as online modules, because this is important. We might give it to the students if they want. They can opt for it, and no school can force a child to take up English only. If the child is opting for Prakrit or Persian, the school has to keep a teacher who knows that language. As per the NEP, of course, there is a lot of planning going on. Let's see how it works out, because earlier when we had implemented this in the 1968 prior to 1920 about the multi-bilingual languages in the school, it did not work out that well. But right now we expect all the educators as well as the school owners to work a little bit on it, and it will become easy. Because if a child opts on online that I want to understand in Gujarati or in Marwari or whatever the language is, then the school should give that platform Or in the beginning, the school should say we don't have such options. So as a result, the child is not taxed. If the child opts, you have to provide that. If all your students are opting, then you need to get those teachers who are the resource persons of those language, especially for making the question papers. Of course, it will have the three language part. That means in three languages, the question paper will be given. So a child, whoever wants to appear in whichever language they understand, that will be given. There will be a major effort from the central, of course, and the state government to invest larger number of language teachers in all regional languages around the country, and in particular, all Schedule 8 important languages, which is the basis of all the other languages. So these 8 languages, language teachers will be provided, and they will be available. The teachers will also get trained by the state government as well as the central government. And then they will be given to the schools, provided the employment will be such as per the examinations conducted by the school as well as in the central level. And then these teachers will be employed with the other schools, whether it's the private organization or as well as in the government organization. States, especially the states from different regions of India, may enter bilateral agreements to hire teachers in large numbers from each other to satisfy the three language formula in the respective states, and also to encourage the study of Indian languages across the country. Foreign languages such as Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, French, German, Spanish, or Russian will also be widely offered at the secondary level. When the child crosses the pre-primary and the primary, then the middle age, and then the secondary level, we can give them the foreign language also. And this a school should be well equipped with, and they should have the teachers who are the resource person for all this language. So it is now upon the school authorities also. The government has actually stopped giving any sort of recognition to any new upcoming schools without all this NEP. Now the schools which prevailed, they now need to work on their so that they get the accreditation based on all these qualities which they have. Otherwise, the accreditation will come down, and the school might lose that impact, the index number which is there. So they need to work also. We have a lot of time before it is instilled. We still have a year or so to go, because now we have started with the initial level, that is in the pre-primary level. We are trying to take feedbacks from the teachers, from the educators, from the students, from parents, how they are liking the new education policy. So by the time it comes, our schools can be ready with it also, because it's very important that the school takes it properly rather than implementing it on the students. So all language learning will aim to be experiential and enhanced through the art, music, poetry, theater, gamification, and apps, storytelling. Language will also be enhanced with the reading of analysis and uplifting literature from the Indian subcontinent to the ancient to modern, and by the authors from all walks of life, as well as other arts such as by playing, discussing music or film excerpts, and engaging in theater of this language. So it is now expected that the teacher uses a lot of the extracurricular activities, activity-based learning, rather than the curriculum-based, which we had, the textbook-based. Because if you are teaching a language, if you're a language teacher, you need to involve your child with the other languages also, so that the child gets to understand the other languages, rather than making a child come out of the school after passing 10th standard and seeing the child getting groomed for English session or English speaking class. Then we fail in certain extent as a language teacher. So as a result, the NEP also focuses on the master of activities, bringing in education with the help of activities. For example, you can ask your child to make a picture chart of a storybook, the comics, whatever, the Panchatantra tales, the story which is there in your textbook. You can ask your child or the children in the school as a project work, that you convert the school with the help of Chota Bheem, make the characters, idolize them, and there are a lot of avatars right now in metaverse and world, a lot of things which the children knows far more better than us. So we can ask them to script it and act it in the class and learn the language in that way. Whether you are teaching Marathi, Hindi, Bengali, you can ask with the literature of that particular state, which the state is rich in. For example, if you're teaching Marathi in the class, so you can ask the child, instead of reading the textbook, ask them to enact that. Probably two students in the class can do that in Marathi language, and this will become very easy for a child to understand and grasp the language. Because normally I have felt when my own daughters were here in Maharashtra, Mumbai. I'm here for the last 26 years in Mumbai. But when we came here, at that time, it was very difficult for my daughters to take in Marathi because I was their teacher and I too had little difficulty in learning the language in the beginning. But right now I know very nicely Marathi. That's a different thing. But then my daughters, I felt they had a different issue when they came back from the classroom. They had the best of teachers who were moderators for so many years, but still they felt that, Mommy, why don't they explain in Hindi? Then we could be more comfortable. So it is little difficult, but we need to train our students. Why? Because if most of the time, if it is English also, probably in English also, students are not able to understand because all the time we do the reading and explanation. We don't make them do it. It is very important. As a result, NEP focuses on the activity based, whether it's in the form of music, ask them to understand. They play a English music or a song in the classroom and ask the child to understand word to word there on spot. Make them understand. They will enjoy in the class as well as they will have that grasping power. If they are able to understand that, then English teaching will not be that difficult. So language needs to be done with activities which will bring in more motives and more, more open to ideas. There are library periods, there are so many books in every school, but how many students enjoy going to the library right now? A lot of principals have also joined it. They might be knowing that library has now just become for the teachers, those who need for reference. Students hardly visit, maybe for just reference, touching the books and making it feel that there's a lot of books. But we need to inculcate the books which were there, turning the pages and reading those articles, reading the stories and enjoying it. It has not been done for ages. To I think for a decade we have stopped taking the library period into a very important period, because there the librarian work comes into very important thing which we have started in our school. The librarian has to conduct some sessions in the class during the library period. They give the book, and on that, based on that book, a review has to be written, and on the class, not at home. No homeworks to be given, because at home it's the parents who do it, not the kids. So as a result, the child has to read the book. So this is how we can start inculcating, not forcing. Of course, the child who's taking the book, they will only, and those who are not taking, we should explain them why it is important to read other books to develop and enhance your word power, and this will help you in your enhancing your language later on. So every student will participate in the fun project of languages of India. That is also important. It's not that because you like English, you will not take part for Bengali language or Gujarati language. You should try and take part and try to speak like how I have learned different languages. Being Bengali myself, I stayed in Assam. For the beginning years, I know Assamese very nicely. Now, after that, 20 years in Maharashtra, I know Marathi, but along with that, little bit of Gujarati also I can speak. So it is like when you love the language, you state, you can just keep on knowing about the culture, the tradition of that particular state also, which is very rich. India is a rich country with a diverse population. So we need to understand each and everything clearly. And of course, the ISL, that is the Indian Sign Language, will be standardized across the country, and national and state curricular materials developed for the use by the students. Well, hearing impairment, local sign languages will be respected and taught as well as wherever possible and relevant. So this is what I really wanted to share a little bit, because already I think the remaining part has been told by Sharda ma'am, and I did not divulge more into it all the way. So just I wanted to say about that the sign language is coming up, and we need to work on that also before taking up the NEP into such context. So it is very important right now to understand a children's mind. What is important? We all know as educators that how language is influenced. Language is not, a child is not born with a language. Language is a skill which needs to be nurtured and trained. And if we can do that, a child can speak properly. So, for example, if a Bengali child born in a Bengali family is given to the parents of a Gujarati family, so after a year, you come back and you will find that the child speaking in Gujarati language and not Bengali language. So the mother might tell, "Oh my God, that was my child." The child is speaking very nicely and very fluently that language because he listens and then he speaks. So if you encourage all the time instead of forcing, because it's a skill and we need it to be developed, and this skill can be developed when they hear, when they do it, when they enact it, when they listen to music, when they listen to the films, movies, maybe cartoon movies, but in English. The transcript should be given and they should be able to understand. So they can pick up and NEP will become successful because that is what we cater to. Instead of forcing, we can put it under our impact and we can ask the child to select the option, which language you're comfortable. We cannot force a child as the NEP does not allow that. We need to understand there are certain capabilities and the skills take time to develop in certain children. Everyone does not develop it in from day one itself. I don't think I was speaking English in my earlier days because I got that sharp knuckle beating from my sister. But then too, I made a lot of grammatical errors. So I too expect that, yes, my students will also be making mistakes. I cannot expect them to speak in a proper language in their tone right now. When I teach in 10th standard, the students, the boys especially, they have a different tone of speaking. Right now, that adolescent period also. So when they speak, their tone, their sign language, the body language, it changes completely. So it gives a different approach for a sentence. If a particular sentence is say with a different tone, it gives a different impact. And if you say it in a different tone, it comes totally opposite of what you wanted to say. So NEP wants that if this child probably was forced to learn English language, he was not able to take up English in the beginning stage. He was forced. As a result, he came into this body language. His body language has changed. But how many of us understand their body language and cater to them? It is difficult because we need instant activities. We just, as teachers, because we have the pressure of the portion to be completed when we are in 10th standard, we cannot look into the development of language. We start scolding and throw him out of the class. That's what we do. But here, it's not the child's issue. It's the issue which the child have been facing and struggling from day one, from when he had entered in first standard. But as educators, we just ignored it. We told, let it be, you have to study or we'll be throwing you out of the school. That is not the solution. We need to come up with solution and help such students to even learn this language in a very slow speed, or probably it might be for the better usage. Main intention for us is to give knowledge. So the knowledge should be imparted in a proper way. So multilingualism is very important and we need to install this. So I don't want to take much more time. Already our eminent educators, Mo ma'am and Dr. Sharda ma'am had also talked about the importance of it. So just a final conclusion. I want to conclude.
Yeah, I think Rachana ma'am, yours was
Yeah, just a little bit for the conclusion one. I want to end it with the languages which we are talking about. The last part, which we all need to understand, is that language is the most important medium of communication and education, and it's the development which occupies an important place in the national policy on education program of action. And the only way to introduce in the multilingualism is the formal style. So we know that the positive relationship with all the students, how it goes on. So curricular achievement is increased through such education. It helps the students to achieve their self-esteem, confidence, and their own ability and potentiality to be successful. So we need to be a multilingual person, a huge scope in the aspect of jobs also. It also helps to understand the heritage, the history, tradition, culture, which we are actually forgetting. So this is what is important. So thank you so much, all of you. I hope I was able to give my inputs in
it
what
was
multilingualism.
it was extremely insightful, informative. I think we all needed this because since you being in the CBSE board and incorporating these changes, and we are aware now this is being implemented on a very larger scale, the process might be slow, but definitely with the collaboration of all the stakeholders of the education, this will happen. And I like one thing about this thing that you said about that we had a fun project with the 6 to 8 years about the states of India. I remember during my Independence Day in a class, the same thing I incorporated with the 3 to 6 year olds. They were told to dress up with the state's costume and to speak in that language, whatever the language they are. So, in this way, there was a diversity in the culture. At the same time, they were respecting the Independence Day, Mera Bharat Mahan, and at the same time, they were aware of the costume that each state wears. So, multilingualism, diversity in culture, and the concept of the spirit of the Independence Day with a story that why we celebrate. I mean, you have to incorporate fun ways of learning. Only then the child will pick up the languages. And
Yes,
as far as you said that you used to get the bites of the hands and all that and knuckles and all, I remember I am a total Punjabi. I can't speak Punjabi at all. But I was born and brought up in a Gujarati society. I was born and brought up in a Gujarati locality where there were 32 families and we were the only one for Punjabi family. So I can read Gujarati, I can write Gujarati, I can make Gujarati stuff, but I can't speak Punjabi. I don't know why. So this is what happens when you are actually born and brought up in a certain environment. You will definitely pick up those kind of languages more rather than what your culture is. So it really plays a lot, very big impact, multilingualism. Very much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful insight. You can proceed with the introduction for the next speaker, ma'am.
thank you so much, Sonal ma'am, for that wonderful summarization also. Thank you so much. It was insightful and nice always to listen from you. Yeah, true. It's a way to go and it's the need of an hour. And we all need to take out as from educators, these platforms like this is needed, which will help us in the board or the committee members when we are making the new changes. We need to know from the educators also what are their inputs, that how will it affect and how we can bring around the change. So probably this will make our brains open also when we are thinking about the main changes which will come in. So thank you so much. So our next eminent speaker who's going to talk about the NEP, and we will gather more knowledge from her, is Hadina Dwi Nurfika. I hope I pronounced your name properly, ma'am. And she is from Indonesia, and she is an entrepreneur, CEO, and founder of Bliss Education Center, certified NLP practitioner, and life coach by American Union of NLP, mental health advocate, certified meditation teacher, certified energy and boundaries practitioner. Oh my God, ma'am. It's really an honor for us to have you today in our midst, and we are eager to listen to you about the multilingualism in education. So over to you. The virtual mic is all yours.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You
Okay.
are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the beautiful introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who are watching us right now. My name is Sharda from Indonesia, like the previous speaker already introduced me. And first of all, I'd love to express my gratitude to all the main speakers and also Sunal Mom and RDYM for making this session ongoing wonderful. And the previous speakers already explained many wonderful information about multilingualism related NIP. And before I share my screen, let me share a bit of my thoughts about multilingualism. So the world is not comprised of just one type of person, right? But many different kinds of people with many different kinds of characteristics. And that is why we need to be accepting of others and understand that what works for us might not work for anyone else. And one unique characteristic that some people have is the ability to speak about more than one language. And knowing more than one language helps people communicate with more people around the world. And nowadays, our capacity to communicate and connect with others, no matter where they are from in the world, is greater than ever before. But as our connections grow, so does the need for understanding among us. So in today's globalized society, there is no longer a clear line between domestic and international affairs. Everything that happens anywhere in the world is felt here at home. And understanding others' perspective is a key component to making informed decisions in our own lives and communities as well. And it begins with education and exposure. Thanks a lot for the previous speakers already well explained about the multilingualism and also in NLP. And in my opinion, there are two main factors that cause multilingualism in people. First is genetics and also environment. People born in multilingual homes, like usually from parents who speak different languages, often grow up knowing multiple languages without even realizing it. Like their parents speak one or two languages and they just simply respond because as children grow up, they start with what they heard. And also, even if you do grow up in multilingual household, you may still choose to only learn one language because learning another requires effort and will take time away from other things you could be doing instead. And environment also plays a part, like Sunal Mom already said about it before as well. So children will usually pick up language they hear frequently at home and in their communities. And with less common language they come across may never get picked up at all. So regardless of how much time they spend around those languages, for example, there are many areas in the United States where Spanish speakers live, but English speakers never bother to pick up Spanish at all, even though Spanish is the second language most used in the United States. So multilingualism gives you such a superpower, in my opinion. In fact, it's one of the most powerful things you can have in today's global economy, where opportunities are opening up in parts of the world and that have never been accessible before. And a second language makes it easier to communicate with people from all over the world, whether they are tourists visiting your city or colleagues working in your office. And it also gives you a window into a new cultures and ideas that would be inaccessible. And a new language can help you also understand another country's culture and approach to life, which is invaluable if you're ever planning trip there or maybe looking for a business connection. And thinking in more than one language can help you solve problems and make connections that might not to monolinguals. So remember, language is one of the most universal ways we can connect with those around us. And it's also one of the most important factors in determining how well we understand other people's thoughts, beliefs, and experiences. And as a result, learning new languages over a multitude of benefits to your career, to your social life, to your culture and heritage. But it's not always easy for a continent. That's where multilingualism comes in, like through technology, We're able to learn language faster than ever before and have a greater range of resources available to us than ever before, because luckily we have a digitalization nowadays. And with today's technology at your disposal, you can learn new language from anywhere, and it just takes dedication and motivation. Because we also know that learn language really needs to take time. So now let me share my screen. Okay, is it visible?
Ma'am, yes.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk about 4 points. The first is the importance of multilingualism in the age of globalization. The second is, how does multilingualism impact our culture and society? And the third is multilingualism and cognitive development, or the power of language. And the fourth is the future impact. So the importance of multilingualism in the age of globalization in today's world is where so many businesses are international, and technology makes it possible for us to connect with people from around the world with just a few clicks on our phone or computer. Speaking multiple languages is more important than ever. And the ability to speak another language means that you can strike up conversation with your neighbors, order food at a restaurant without an English menu, shop in store without any help from Google Translate, and communicate with customers and vendors all over the world. Unsurprisingly, being bilingual has also been found to increase your earning power by 10%, according to the Wall Street. Next, but before we assume that everyone needs to become bilingual or even multilingual, let's take a step back and analyze why we need languages in the first place. We communicate through languages, but languages are not just an arbitrary way of communicating from one person to another. They tell us something about the culture of the people speaking them. So why learn a language? Is it so we can simply have more options for communication, or is it so we can experience another culture if we only want to know? So in my opinion, if we able to communicate in a certain language with another people, we might not misinterpret something, and we can have more peace when we understand something clearly than we assume or we got another help from another people. That's why it's really important to get to understand what other people say about yourself. That's why so many people try to learn new language. So how does multilingualism impact our culture and society? A lot of people in the world now speak more than one language. This is especially common with young people who are growing up learning a second or third language in school. And this can be a very good thing that helps improve communication and understanding between countries. But it can also cause problems when people feel it's necessary to use 2 or more languages at once. And multilingualism is becoming increasingly common, and it can have some positive and negative effects in our culture and also society. So before we talk about the positive and negative impacts, let's see the benefits of a bilingual brain. So as you can see in here, the research shows that bilingual people have an easier time with these key brain functions. They can developing strong thinking skills. They can understanding math concept and problems. They can cultivating greater cultural awareness, and they can also increase reading comprehension. They can also using the logic and also focusing, remembering, and making decisions greater than those people who only speak monolingualism. Why? Because as the previous speaker already explained, like we have something called neurons in our brain, and when we try to train something, when we try to repeat something, then it gets strength and also make it stronger and develop your brain in a perfect way rather than you don't use it. Because when you try to do something new, for example, learning language, then you build a path, like neural pathways in your brain. And also when you start to learning it day by day, daily, it gets stronger and you have more ability to develop critical thinking, for example. Because yeah, it's like exercising, it's like working out. Our brain also have their own exercise by doing certain thing repeating. Because when we don't train our brain in certain ways, it might get stuck. And when we try to develop our brain in many ways, especially in positive ways, then we can get more benefits. So let's say that's why students try to learn earlier, whether it's second language, whether it's third language, not only because they have more ability to learn it earlier, but it's also we can get the best benefits with the young age. And it also shows in the mental health field. A multilingual brain is quicker, nimbler, and more resistant to Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And with academic performance, students in dual language programs consistently outperform monolingual peers on state-mandated tests, regardless of the demographic. And for the preparation for the future, bilingual adults have several advantages over monolingual adults. Yeah, it's because we all know that when we can speak more than one language, then we can be up for so many opportunities that we might not consider. But actually, they're right in front of us just because we are able to communicate it well. So it can be beneficial because it gives us a broader understanding of the world around us, and we can connect with other cultures better. For example, if you know Spanish, you can communicate better with Hispanic people living in your neighborhood. And it's also helpful because it allows more the population to interact with each other, which increases cultural awareness and appreciation for diversity. Frankly, to say that when we don't understand something, we often misunderstood, right? So we might not understand, oh, this person has a background culture like this, and we have a different background culture. And when we cannot communicate it well, it might seem like a little bit rude in some ways, or it might seem like a little bit comfortable in our ways. But when we know how to communicate what's our thoughts, and also understand what people are doing and try to communicating with us, then it can also bring more peace. And when we can build more peace, of course, we are opening up to more opportunities in our lives. So not only positive, there is also negative impact as well. And it can also cause confusion when information gets lost in translation. Like when an interpreter is used during a courtroom case or conference meeting between international organizations, it can also create barriers between people who are trying to communicate because they don't speak the same language as well enough. Some experts worry that this could lead to less understanding between societies, especially since technology has made it easier for all of us. So when we have the ability to speak more than one language, of course, it can give us more confidence and also give us a great self-awareness about something. But when we cannot speak what other people try to talk at the moment, then of course it will make a huge barriers at the moment while we are talking to another people. And when we are trying to interpret in the wrong way, then it can lead again to the misunderstanding. So this is the way, like you can see, there is some commonly accepted beliefs about the multilingualism in the society. The first is it's easier to learn language when you are younger. And also the second is language defines your identity. The third is learning another language helps you think more creatively. And fourth is when you speak multiple languages, you are more likely to be well traveled. Like if you like traveling, of course, you want to try to what you have learned before. And fifth is you will learn more about another culture through its language. You cannot understand the culture itself when you don't know how to speak that language well enough. And six is you will learn more about yourself when you learn another language. Like some people often say that we are not going to understand something unless we are trying to put our shoes on their shoes. And it's correct, because when we don't know what other people trying to talk to us, we cannot also put ourselves on their shoes, because there's a language sign, but it's better if we communicate it clearly so another people can know exactly what we want, and we can also comprehend enough what people are trying to talk to us. And next is the best way to become fluent in another language is by immersing yourself in it. Like you can have a daily practice, and also you can build more confidence, because when you try to learn language and you don't have enough self-confidence, then you're going to get back in the where you started again and again, and it's become such an overwhelmed situation for language learners. And eight is if you're a bilingual or multilingual, you have better cognitive abilities, because again, you train your brain more than those people who only can speak one languages. And the last one is you will be better able to understand and accept other cultures if you speak their languages, because when you speak their language, you can try to put your shoes on their shoes, so you have a better understanding about what actually they are trying to talk, or what actually the culture or the heritage behind their behavior, behind their culture. So it's better for you to understand it. And the multilingualism and cognitive development is such a really amazing, great thing. And it's the power of language, because research has shown that bilingualism is generally connected with better executive functions, a term that encompasses the ability to plan, organize, and control one's action. This means that bilingual people tend to be more organized in general and have greater planning skills than monolinguals. That's why people try to make so many research just to prove this, because it's give you more benefits, even though there is so many negative, but we can try to look at back to ourselves whether we want to try to take the positive outcomes or the negative outcomes, because in fact, and it's already proven clearly that it gives you more beneficial things in your daily life. And squeezing two languages into your head can be tricky business, and which is why it's not surprised that the development of our language abilities are tightly tied to developments of our brains. The way we use our brains physically changes when we learn a second language. New connections are formed between our brain's language center and allowing us to speak and understand both languages equally well. This is like I have shown in the previous slide before with the brain picture, like when you try to learn the second language or the third language, then it can actually train the language centers in your brain, so it builds the new neurons and connect it and make it stronger. And as you practice it daily, you get more sources, and when you get more sources, then you can speak it and understand both languages equally well enough. So the benefits of bilingualism don't stop there. It turns out that what we call memory is actually made up for several distinct parts in the brain, including long-term memory. This is the kind where you remember your high school algebra teacher's name or some kind of difficult things. And also a short-term memory where you put down your keys, or where you just simply put down your towel after you took a bath. When we learn a new language, we make new connections in our brain for remembering vocabulary, grammar rules, and sentence construction for each language we know. And this expands the capacity for short-term memory, which can give us greater mental clarity and focus. That's why when we are becoming multilingualism, then we tend to have far away from such a disease like Alzheimer's or dementia, because we train our short-term memory that will give us more clarity and focus as well. So the huge mistake that mostly language learners make is they jumping right into studying a language without figuring out their why and their strength as a language learner. For example, children, they go to school and then they just sit in there and listening to the teachers because that's the curriculum, and also that's what the teacher taught them. And if the students only go to school and then the teacher cannot make a friendly, fun environment at the class, then it's probably 100% sure that the students actually got no idea where they're going to be end up with the ability of being a multilingualism or bilingualism, because they don't even know why they are doing this in a great way. Like they are doing this just only to fulfill the grade, just only to pass the test, or just to make the parents happy because they can speak it. But when the teachers, the educators try to make it in fun learning, why we cannot try to implement it? Because we can help them figuring out what they want in the future if they able to speak more than one language. And it's such a bless for the teachers who are going to teach them if they realize it since the early, not only because, okay, you have the responsibility to teach the students, but also think about the beneficial things for their future, like thinking a whole future for the students might be overwhelmed for the teachers, but just think a little bit like guiding them in the right way just at the beginning, and making the fun activities in the class can really build the critical thinking for the students so they can guiding themselves after that. So it's not such a real difficult situation for the teacher actually when you try to see it clear, because everything that we are trying to do must be has right and the left side. So it's our choice whether we want to see the good side or the bad side. We might think like it's overwhelming activities if we do so much fun. Maybe the students are going to freak out, or they might be out of control, and we might be get mad out of nowhere, or maybe we can get really out of control as well. But if the teacher starting their session or their class with really realizing that they have a call for being teacher for the great future benefits for the students, then it's really possible to do such a certain fun things for the class to build a strong connection with the students as well. Next, the world has become a global village due to the advancement in technology, which has allowed us to communicate with and learn from each other. And in a report by the United Nations, it was estimated that there are more than 6,000 languages spoken in the world and many more dialects. And due to globalization, people have been able to travel across countries, even continents with ease. Even though in pandemic, there are so many people that try to ease all the stress and try to travel around the world no matter what happened, right? It's because they can enjoy something and they can communicate something, even though it's such a wrong way, for example, to travel during the pandemics. But yes, they can do it because they can communicate what they want. So it's a negative, but actually we can see there's a slightly great impact of being able to communicate or to address what you want or your need. Imagine like you are really getting stuck and you don't know what you want to do, or at least you want to do something but you cannot communicate with other people, whether it's going to be a positive way or a negative way, it's going to be complicated as well. So with the increase in international travel, for example, there is an increase in multiculturalism as well, and growing number of immigrants to different countries such as the United States has resulted in increase in the multilingual population. With this change in demographic, the language barrier that exists is slowly being erased as people are learning how to communicate with one and another. So what does this mean for the future? When we try to see the demographic of immigrant, like when one specific person or one specific community try to stay or live in certain areas, of course they try to expand something. They try to communicate, they try to interact with one and another. They want to be there and open up more opportunities for them and for their family. So when we can do that, we not only trying to open up the new opportunities for ourselves, but also for our family or maybe for our generation as well. And of course, it can give you mixed feelings as well. So that's why it's really important to have a clear why you want to do something. Sorry. Okay. And the term multiculturalism is defined as an ideology that holds that society can benefit from being made up of people from different cultures. This means instead of having one culture dominating a society, there will be different culture existing side by side, and there will be a cultural exchange which could help bridge gaps among different people who come from different backgrounds. In addition, it is believed that cultural diversity increases creativity as different perspectives are shared and brought together. And this can lead to innovation as ideas may be merged or new ideas may arise out. So when we can be around in the society or communicate or community or even organization with diverse culture, it's really possible that we are going to open up a new innovation that can be beneficial not only for our community or ourselves, but with the wider range. Because when we are shared or brought together our ideas and we blend it in a right term, then it can bring a great ideas as well. Like the Idym, we have so many members in the group and we share the thoughts, like what the topics we are going to talk, or what's the next session will it be, or who are the speakers and so on. We have so many diversity in the group and we share and brought this together and make it stronger and greater day by day. And it's really awesome. And as we can see, we are even here in the IDYM group because we are able to communicate with all of you, not only from our mother tongue. So it's really great that we have to encourage the younger generation to be able to at least speak more than one language. And I know that, for example, in India, there are so many languages that people speak, like more than 3 languages the previous speakers already explained. So for sure, it's not surprise if we try to learn English or the other language as well since the earlier age. And it's really great and awesome because, the students and also the governments trying to encourage each other. It seems like the activity or the connection that we all needed together. So it's not only the government trying to push the younger generation, or you should be able to speak this, or it's not only by the forcing of the parents because the parents have a different mother tongue with the partner or also with the society. So the children have to speak more than one language. It seems like a beautiful combination from one and another. And also, I have seen so many younger people from India who really speak well English as they try to learn English since the earlier age. It's really great that we can try to learn second language or even third language since our early age. So the conclusion is we live in a diverse world, and being bilingual or multilingual makes you better equipped to deal with that no matter what happens. Because when we cannot or have a limitation for communicating, then we might get stuck in difficult situation. We might not be able to ask or even over help for another people as well. And second is learning more than one language can improve your cognitive function, including memory, concentration, and problem solving, because you train more your brain than those people who only speak one languages. The third is having to deal with multiple language systems can help you become more flexible and applying the knowledge of your language system. And the last one is being able to speak multiple languages can help in the job market, such as by making oneself more attractive to employers. Like what you are going to put on your resume is something related not only with your academic skills, but also with your interpersonal skills as well. And when you are able to speak modern language, of course, we all know here, it really gives you more opportunities to the getting job. So it's really important to encourage the young generation to speak more than one languages. And I think that's all for today, because the previous speakers already explained all well about the multilingualism and also related to the NFP. And I hope there is some text that you can take from my presentation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm giving you back, Sonal ma'am. Thank you so much once
Wonderful,
again.
wonderful, Dinah ma'am. I'm going to call you short form Dinah ma'am, because that's very sweet also. And I think each of us, each of the speakers have actually covered very diverse aspects of what is multiculturalism, what is multilingualism, covering the cultures as well as the language also. So one nation, you can say unity in diversity. We need to inculcate in children through these kind of sessions and all. And what are we all doing? We are actually creating a creative society. If you see, we talk about humanity, we talk about building one nation, one culture. We all together have collaborated over here. From technology is not a barrier, we say. Through this wonderful medium technology, we have connected from each and every state, every culture, every diverse background, just for one goal, one mission, and one mission, that is education. How we can improve education in different ways, how we can bring a very strategic input in the education. So I think that's very wonderful. And hats off to all of the amazing speakers. Deep gratitude from my side. Let's give a round of applause to everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. So, I think the technical team can click a nice picture of all of us. Please switch on the cameras. Is it done? Somebody click the picture. Thank you so much, everyone. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation. And Rasna ma'am, thank you to you especially for being a part of this series. Thank you. Thank you, Ravi sir, for your cooperation, help, and see you for our next round of amazing, wonderful presentation tomorrow, day 6, 5 days successful. Hats off. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night, ma'am. Thank you.
you.